Welcome to Female Fractionals, the biweekly podcast for successful female fractional executives and those ready to take the leap. In each episode, I'll bring you actionable lessons and inspiration through interviews with thriving fractional leaders and experts. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Female Fractionals. If this episode looks familiar, it's because it is. I'm taking a short pause from recording to focus on building a stronger marketing strategy for the show for Season 2 coming January 2026. In the meantime, I'm revisiting some of the standout conversations I've had so far, episodes that capture the lessons, mindset shifts, and practical advice every fractional leader can learn from. The first was my discussion with Kristi Gaudioso, a fractional leader who isn't just leading growth for clients, she's building an ecosystem for fractionals. As founder of Luminate Consulting and of a fractional network within Chief, Kristi talked with me about the biggest mistake leaders make when hiring fractionals, how to balance delivering value versus building your own brand, and what it takes to create sustainable revenue. Her advice: don't just deliver outcomes, be intentional about building credibility, relationships, and repeatability. This episode is a roadmap for anyone who wants staying power in the fractional space. I hope you enjoy listening or re-listening to this episode. Hi, Kristi. Welcome to Female Fractionals. I'm so excited to have you. And first and foremost, I want to congratulate you on your 2-year anniversary. That's such a milestone and so exciting.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're very excited. I'm so happy to be on today.
Great. Well, I would love for you to start out by just kind of sharing what brought you here today. Can you share a little bit about your journey to becoming a fractional?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is sales and sales leadership. So I've been in that space for the last 25 plus years. And I started in the startup space. So I was selling software, telemarketing, and then moved into Microsoft through one of my companies getting acquired. And I worked at Microsoft for 13 plus years. It was a wonderful place to be in, that really invested in their people. And I feel like I truly grew as a manager, as a seller, as a leader. And then when I was at the end of my tenure there, I was looking at other options of where I wanted to go. And I left Microsoft to explore the startup space. I kind of wanted to take everything that I learned from the sales strategy to people leadership, business leadership, looking across multiple lines of business, and take that to the startup and be able to do that from scratch. And so I worked in the startup space, leading sales and leading global sales teams. And then I did that for a few years, absolutely loved it. And then when I was thinking about my next phase and where I wanted to go after that, I took some time to think through what energizes me and where do I really find joy, and what are the things that I've done over the course of my career have given that to me, and like, where's my single thread? Like there's I find that most people have a thread in their career, and mine was in building. I loved figuring it out, doing something that's never been done before that people were really stuck on, and being able to collaborate and ideate on that. And so when I talked to somebody in Chief, one of the women's groups that we're in together, they were talking about fractional. It wasn't something I heard of before, but I loved the idea of being able to do the part of the job that I love the most and just keep doing that part of the job. Because once sales continues to grow and build and it's all amazing and working and everybody's getting over 200%, I get kind of bored. So for me, I like to be in the building and figuring it out. And so I started my fractional firm 2 years ago, and I started just as me, doing fractional chief revenue officer, helping small, mid-sized businesses, founders, and enterprises in building out their sales strategy. But about 5 months ago, I brought in a couple people that used to work for me at different organizations and expanded to a fractional sales team. So now they will work in doing full cycle sales. So that was kind of my journey. I was looking for something that hit my inner need of helping others and helping people be happy in their life and be successful in their life. And a lot of times I find when businesses are not performing all that well, there's high tension, there's lack of collaboration. And so if I can come in and help change that, people's lives start getting better. And that kind of feeds my passion.
That's great. That's great. I love how you are able to feed your own passion while helping others, and you found a way to make that work. We'll talk about that in a little bit because I think that's such a testament to who you are as a person. But first, I'd love to take a step back because I feel like fractional is still a pretty new concept in the world. I think you and I are in a couple of groups where we talk about it on the regular and we share our knowledge and our learnings with others often. So we kind of live, eat, breathe it. But for many others that are either thinking about joining this movement or even people that are thinking about hiring fractionals, can you just tell me how you define fractional and the difference between fractional and consulting?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's actually a quite popular question for us in the fractional community because it's still driving awareness of what fractional is and educating people about it. So what I see fractional as is us having the ability to come in and run the full function of that role, but just run it for a fraction of our week. And so instead of me working full time at one organization and being there for the next 3 to 5 years, I have the ability to have multiple clients that I'm working with. So that feeds my everlasting curiosity and helping of multiple businesses. But it also lets me learn so many more things than I would actually learn if I was full time. Right. Full time, it would take me, we have 10 to 15 clients a year. It would take me 20 years to be able to have 10 to 15 full-time jobs. So the things that we're learning and accelerating our learning growth and being able to give that back to clients have been really interesting. So I define it as being fully in the role. You're managing people, you're setting strategy, presenting to boards, right? Again, keeping my role as revenue. Other fractionals are not always doing the same exact things, but owning the full function, just doing it for part-time. And the benefit to the clients, you're getting somebody in sooner than you'd be able to typically afford to bring somebody in, right? You're not going to bring a CRO in when you have 2 people on your sales team normally, right? Your CROs are there to lead VPs and sales directors and sellers, and so you need bigger teams. But now you get to actually bring their expertise, the strategy knowledge, the ability to scale and grow a team to where you would actually want a full-time CRO, but for a fraction of the week, right? People that don't need it for the full time. And I think there's just a ton of advantages for all different types of companies to be able to bring that in and for people that are looking to explore the fractional space.
That's great. That's great. And now that you have a couple of years under your belt, what is some advice that you would give to someone that's thinking about making the leap?
The very first thing is figure out what your why is. Why do you want to do it? I have met many people that come out to this world and join the fractional space, and they want to do it because they want to get their life back and kind of control more with work-life balance and be able to figure that out. And the next thing you know, they're working 90-hour weeks and they're miserable. And then they go back to, another organization. So the very first thing is figure out why you want to do it. For me, I recognize in my life that I've always put work in front of everything. And I did work those crazy long hours, like many people probably can relate to. And when I lost my mom a few years ago, it was at her wake that I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to spend more time with family. And then 2 weeks later, I got an offer for a CRO job and I took it. And that's a moment that I come back to a lot because it's like I had my why for a short moment and then I lost it. And so I really think the why is important. And when I started my business, it's not that I'm looking to work less. We work incredibly hard and very hard. It's just, it's structured in a different way where it's not fully consuming me. And it gives me the freedom to work with people that I really like working with and working with teams that are phenomenal. Things that I didn't always have when I was so focused on work and not efficiency and not doing it in the best way, just getting it done. And so I think that's been really interesting. And I'd say, think about your why. Think about why you want to do it. And maybe just one more thing. Think about what makes you unique because the fractional space is growing a ton. When I think there was a statistic, I can't find it. If anybody finds it and shares it with us after this podcast, please send it to me. But I think it was in the beginning of 2021, there were 8,000 people on LinkedIn that had the title of fractional. Last Friday, I checked and it was 154,000. It's one of the fastest growing spaces right now. And I think it's an attribute to people wanting to do things that bring them joy. And it's also showing how this movement is working for businesses. They see that this is a really great way to bring in phenomenal talent for a portion of the week and get all these different outside perspectives. But because of that, it's increasingly important to figure out why you're doing it, stick to your why, and what makes you different from everybody else that's doing it, and communicate that.
Yeah, that is so true. I think that is a lesson learned that I hear more often than not, that people are fearful to niche down and that they always start really wide in what they want to either offer or in the industry. And then you can talk to them maybe 3 months later, 6 months later, and they're like, I ended up where I thought I probably should. It's just such it feels like it's a very systemic, not problem, but just lesson learned when people are first starting out. So you have a passion for developing fractional leaders. Can you speak more to that?
I think it still always comes back to my innate sense of helping people and helping people find their happy place and find their joy. And so when I first went out on my own, I felt that it was lonely, right? I'm used to being in teams and big teams and working with people all day. And I found that there was not as many people in fractional yet, and I had to kind of find my own group. And so I wound up creating this community for people that are thinking about fractional. So either you're in fractional or you're fractional curious, and it's something that you're thinking about doing, and creating a support environment for people to truly learn how to be fractional, learn the ups and downs of it, and be able to build their own businesses. So I think the heart of it still comes down to me just wanting to help people. And it has been absolutely wonderful. I really think that when people take on this type of venture, they find their full selves, their whole person, because they're just having a great time. Now, I'm not going to say every day is golden, right? No job will ever do that, or no career will ever do that. But being able to really do the things that light you up and do that every single day, I think is exciting for a lot of people. So my favorite part of it is when I get to see them have their win, whatever that win may be, their first contract, their first lead, their first firing of a client. Like, we've actually celebrated that before too, because sometimes all clients don't work out. And so, and I think that's been really fun, just watching people grow and evolve. And we started this group with, I don't know, probably 20 people came to our first monthly call. And now we have over 400 people that are in our group, and 75 within the last 5 weeks have joined us. So it's growing quite quickly. And I think there's a need for it. I think there's a need for support and helping people find more success in what they're doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As a member of that group, I have been a part of it since the beginning, and I've also seen it grow. And I've also been so impressed with how helpful everyone is within the group, regardless of title, industry, what level of maturity their business is in. You have really built a great supportive community. So kudos to you for that. How do you find the right clients to work with in your business?
So one of the first things I look for are organizations that are ready for change, because that's really the piece. If I meet with somebody and they're hesitant or they push back on anything that I'm saying, well, maybe this is an area that you'd want to invest in, it's going to be really hard for fractionals to be successful there, right? We need to be able to come in and identify the challenges, identify the areas that are gaps, and then be able to build plans for it. But if you don't get alignment between the leadership, or if they look at the fractional person coming in as not being as committed as a full-time person is, and so they don't weigh our impact or our decisions in the same way, that becomes really challenging. So when I think about what the right client is, I also think about what the wrong client is, which I think is important for people as they're building their business too. Who do I want to work with and who don't I? And I have been incredibly fortunate. I've had a phenomenal set of clients that I've worked with. But to me, it comes down to, are they open to doing something different? Are they open to trying something that they've never tried before? Especially in sales, there's trial and error to this, right? We have to be willing to test something and try a completely different message, especially if your go-to-market is stuck or your deals are stalled. I think it's really around companies that are open to change, companies that are excited about new perspective and new energy that's coming in. And the same thing with the teams, right? The way it's messaged around what a fractional is could look different each company, right? In some cases, they want to communicate that it is, somebody coming in more in an advisory capacity, and that's fine too, if that's what your role is as a fractional. If you're not coming in to fully build and own right away, maybe there's a piece you have to still do your discovery. But yeah, I think it's really around, for me, I don't look at size of company as much as I look for challenges that they're facing. So is their revenue stuck? Are their deals being stalled? Is there too long between your first conversation and when that deal becomes an opportunity? And that's typically where structure and process help. So yeah, those are things I tend to look for.
And how are you sourcing them? Are you leaning into referrals, community, all of the above?
It's referral based or networking. And I have not been doing as much marketing for our services, and it's been fine. Like I know I need to get better and more active on social media. It's part of what's in my plan to do. But we have been really active with referrals and doing different networking events. So I actually have a target for myself of two networking events a month where I'm meeting with different founders or different investors. Because also when I work with the founder space, they're looking for help in finding funding. And so that's been really, really interesting and exciting to get to meet with different funding partners to support that, or in general, just looking for other people that are potentially interested in joining my firm over time. Mm-hmm. So as I scale out my business, right, we're considered a micro firm. So there's 4 of us right now, but that I see changing, right? Over the course of this year, we have a plan later this year to hire more people and to be able to take more clients on and be able to still deliver great work. So it's been really about being intentional in where I'm spending my time. But I happen to like connections, and I think networking always has this bad connotation. I don't really like the term of, it's like I'm not trying to meet somebody because there's a point to it outside of just making a genuine connection. But I do feel like I am a connector. And so when I meet somebody, I connect them with them. And then all of a sudden they're thinking of me and they bring me in and they connect me to something. So it's authentic and it's well-intentioned, but we do tend to get a lot of the stuff through referral and through networking.
That's great. That's great. Speaking of growing the business and having grown the business to where it is today, how do you find the balance between delivering the work, growing the team, having a personal life? How have you found that balance, and what are some of the tips and tricks that you can share?
Yeah, it's also a really interesting question. When I was first thinking about how to scale the business, I reached out to our network and I said, hey, who has done this before that we can talk about, or who has ideas about how to do it? And one of the community members was talking about what can you delegate versus what you're doing every single day that you need to do. So I kind of started looking at my business. What's high impact of things that I need to be a part of? What are things that I can delegate to others that are high impact, but they can manage? Or things that are low impact that I'm spending my time on that I shouldn't be, and low impact that maybe I want somebody to manage. So she had this really nice framework. She put it into 4 boxes like that. And I used that approach and I was able to identify, at first I thought I needed a virtual assistant and I tried that, but that's not actually where my workload is. I don't have a lot of admin heavy stuff. So that's when I realized that I think there's a space for fractional sales team, because when I'm working with clients, if I'm working with a founder, I'm giving them advice, and I typically work with founders on advisory, but now I can work with the founder on a full fractional sales team, an on-demand sales team that comes in. And so I help build the strategy, and then my sales team will come in and actually build their pipeline. And that's been super interesting. So I went that direction of what other people like me can I bring in that will offer more value to the team. And the way we balance that is we meet every single week and we talk about what's happening within our clients, where my team is engaged. I have some clients that are just mine and I don't have it extended to my team. And in those cases, I'm not typically getting into what's happening within my accounts, but as we were talking about as a team, and we'll divide up what has to happen and we'll talk about the progress that's happening. And we all have pretty clear roles when we're engaging with the client. So I'm coming in for a certain period of time to focus on XYZ, and my team is coming in to own these pieces. And so we stay really close. We collaborate. We're talking throughout the whole week. And then, so that's balancing the work and who's doing what in the work. And then I will say, I always carve out time for keeping it open for what else could come out from other conversations. And that's kind of where the networking is. So I'm deliberate about a time commitment to networking. Each week, I'm just connecting with people, answering questions, trying to help here. And then I have some in-person things that I do throughout the month. And that time commitment, I actually have more time back than I did full time, even though I'm getting more done. And I'd say like our clients don't actually feel like they don't have us full time in many cases. They feel like we are there with them just everywhere they are and as often as they are. And that's a great feeling to be able to give, right? That feeling of comfort that we are there and we're responsive and we're reactive and we still have time for ourselves. Every one of the people on my team have a life and they have time for their life and they have work-life balance. And that's an important piece that we want to keep focused on.
Yep, that's great. Do you remember the tipping point where you said, I can't do this on my own anymore? It's time to go beyond the virtual assistant or the accounting firm or whatever, and it's time to bring on an actual person or two or three. What was that tipping point for you?
Yes, I had 3 clients at the same time, and I wanted to be able to bring in somebody else that could help support them and even just doing some behind the scenes stuff. So I wound up talking to somebody that was in between jobs that used to work for me, and I brought him in, and just for a period of time until he got his full-time job. And I was able to actually test what is it like having somebody here that can do sales and sales strategy and support some of the things and be an ideation partner with me, right? Which is really, really great to have. And that worked so well that I wound up bringing on another person. And then same thing, she just worked with me while she was looking for her next role. And then I'm like, okay, there's a system here. And so my tipping point was when it just got really busy for me, but still not overworked, still time to deliver and do what I needed to do. But I wanted to grow the business more. Right. As a revenue person, I built out my own go-to-market strategy and my business plan of where I want to take the business. And I have a vision for creating like it won't be a micro firm, hopefully, for long. I really do want to have a consulting firm that focuses on a few different areas that all cover the go-to-market. And in order to do that, I needed to hire people and bring them in. So my tipping point was really when I was feeling a little bit um, uh, not at capacity, but close to capacity where I could see capacity. And I had 3 proposals on the table at the same time. It's like, okay, well, I can't, if all 3 say yes, that's going to be hard for me to manage. But I had people on my bench that I can bring in. I already was talking to people that if it got busy, I can bring them in. And that's been wonderful. So I think I tested it out for a little bit and found that I liked the approach of it and it was working really well. And then I connected with more people. Everybody on my team I've worked with or has worked for me in other organizations too. And I like that approach because they all know my style. We have similar sales methodology. So it makes it very easy when there's people that you've worked with before.
Yeah. Also, such a great testament to what you said earlier around knowing your why and the value you bring. If you have all of that tied up into a nice little bow and you're having conversations to the point where you're at capacity and you have 3 proposals on the table and you are confident enough in those that you're talking to people that you will need to bring on to help you deliver that work, that is such an amazing place to be as a fractional. That is just such a testament to everything that you've been saying today. So I think that's great. Okay. A couple of years in and all of the things that you've done, it's so amazing and inspiring. What would you say is like a lesson that you've learned, good or bad, or you can answer both?
Yeah. Lesson that I learned, I thought I always believed that I was good at managing multiple things at the same time. And this just takes that to the next level. And I really like that. And I think my lesson was there's benefit in being able to, I don't want to say multitask because you're not doing multiple things at the same time, but you're working on one project and carving out and doing another. And I think there's a mindset for that. I'm not sure that that's a fit for everybody, but that I really kind of gravitated to that. So I think my lesson there was there's benefit from the way I've worked in the past and how busy I've been at so many of my jobs where I had to always manage multiple things in different projects. This lets you kind of do that. And I think the other piece is the benefit of being a curious person just makes this so much more interesting. I really enjoy getting to meet with different people and genuine curiosity about what's working, what isn't working, and oh, do you know this person? And or have you tried this thing? Or what if you did that? So I think those are all kind of fun lessons. The lesson that's probably not so great, and this is one I share often, one of my first projects that I was so excited to bid on for a nonprofit, I underbid my price proposal. And that's coming from a seller who knows like how to price and how to do this. But this was one of my first clients. You always have to line up your first client, probably a little different than your future clients. And I came in with a really aggressive proposal. I felt so good about this project. It was nonprofit, really meaningful. Like it meant something to me to be a part of this. And like, I can absolutely help them. And I wound up losing it. And I asked them for feedback, which I always recommend you do. If you ever lose a proposal, go ask for feedback. And they told me my price point was so much lower than the other person that bid that they thought that I wasn't going to be as focused and dedicated or detailed as they were. And yet my proposal was really strong. They liked everything I talked about, but they said, you must not be as good because your price point came in 1/5 what his did. It's like, wow, I really underbid. And that's an unfortunate place to be because they really liked me. They thought that my approach and how I was going to manage that was good. But even in your early clients, do not underbid yourself and your work so much to where it actually looks like you are not priced well in the market. And so that one client would have been able to last me, for so long. It would have just been such a great win. But I undervalued myself because I was so interested in working with them. And I lost it. So
That is
value
such
yourself. Don't spend their money.
important lesson, such an important lesson. I think so many people go into that first project and even projects thereafter and underbid themselves. We're actually going to have an upcoming episode on that. We should actually bring you back for that, given your background and what your area of expertise is. Not given that project, but just it is such a topic of discussion in so many of the groups that I am in. And we
And
need to
now I
make sure
help
that we're
coach people.
valuing ourselves and the services that we offer.
Yeah. And now I help coaching people on how to price, how to price. Cause the other thing was I wasn't super sure. Nobody was talking about pricing. How do fractional people price out? It's not exactly the same as being full time. And so now there's a lot more active conversation. So we're starting to look a little bit more leveled out in the field. And I think that equity will just make a difference for all of us.
I agree. I agree. Okay, I feel like I could talk to you for an hour,
Same.
but we'll have to come back as you continue your progression from micro firm. So watch this space. But what I like to do at the end of every episode is close with some rapid fire questions. So these are meant to be answered in one word or one sentence or less. So, first job that taught you something valuable.
I can't do it in one word. Working at a carnival required me to talk a lot more than I was doing as an introverted kid, and it taught me to not be shy.
Okay, I've never met anyone that has worked at a carnival before, so that also might need to be a sidebar. Best investment you've made in yourself.
I read a new book every 2 weeks.
Most unexpected skill that's helped your career.
Being a connector. I don't know if it's unexpected, but it's the thing that's helped me the most. That and curiosity, just being interested in everything.
Favorite way to celebrate a win.
Champagne.
Most used emoji in professional texts.
I actually started creating custom emojis. And so now I'm using those. So it's not a one word answer. So I'm going to say custom emojis. You can make them of people's faces, of different outfits they've worn, of sometimes your AI headshot that was not coming out the way you expected it to. That could become an emoticon.
It's amazing.
My client knows who I'm referring to if he listens to this.
Dream company headquarters location.
Caribbean or Italy. Maybe South France. All of the above. Just out of the snow in New York.
I agree. I'm in the snow in Chicago. I feel it.
Yeah.
Dream superpower.
Um, being able to remember everything. I watched that show Suits, and having a photographic memory that just must be incredible and amazing to retain every book that I read down to the word.
That would be a blessing and a curse, I think, in some instances. But for that
Right.
reason, it would be incredible. I agree. I agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been amazing. I cannot wait to continue to watch your journey from afar and also in our meetings. Thank you again for starting that incredible group and continuing to grow and support the community, both future fractional leaders and those that are already in the space, and continue to learn and grow from you and others. This has been incredible. If people want to reach out to you, I'll post it in the show notes. I'll also have it up on the website, but is there anything you'd like to share that I haven't covered?
Yeah. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, I have no idea if this will work, but I will share my QR code for anybody to find me. But Luminate Consulting Services is my company. That's my website address. And I'm more than happy to work with anybody or support anybody as they're embracing this journey, or even in talking to clients about how best to leverage fractional people. But thank you so much, Amanda, for having me on. And thank you for running this podcast and creating this experience to help people learn more about the fractional space. I think it's going to be super helpful as this fractional movement continues in educating both those that are interested in becoming fractional and those organizations that are looking at bringing them on. I'm happy to be here. I had a great conversation with you.
Thank you. As always, please remember to like, comment, share, and follow. Help us spread the word about female fractionals. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in season 2 coming January 2026.